Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 127. We've got guest Scot Campbell tonight. And all right.
Sorry about that.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to mute my thing, and I guess it probably wasn't me. Hold on. All right. Okay. So anyway, where was I? So well, I wasn't anywhere because we were just getting started. So yeah, we're going to work our way around, and tonight the topic's going to be art galleries, or exhibiting art galleries, or art shows, or whatever you want to call it. I know Josh has done one pretty cool art gallery event. I just had my first one, and Scott is a veteran. He's done, I think he said like, what did he say, like 70 or something?
Oh, about 40.
About 40, okay, well, yeah. Definitely a lot more than us. So that's why we wanted to have Scott on. But anyway, so let's, I guess let's start off. We'll start with Josh. Where can everyone find you, Josh?
Hi, you can find my work at quarterlystories.com, or also going to Tapas, which is an app for your webcomics and comic books. And you can check out Quarterly Stories and add it to your library there. And you can also check me out on YouTube, looking for Joshua Kemble, or just Polly Nothing. So yeah, right back to you.
Me? All right. So yeah, so you're on my channel, so you can probably you probably know where I am. I don't have the little lower third, one because it's not working, and two because my video quality is still garbage, and I don't know why. I've tried a few different things out. I've tried using a whole different computer, different camera, so it has to be something with my internet connection. So eventually I will get this thing settled or fixed, but for now you have to bear with that. And I'm just gonna probably do mostly screen sharing because I think that shows up a little better. But anyway, just that out of the way, you can find me at Serkworks.com. We're talking about art galleries today. I just had my first art gallery exhibit at Cocoon Art Space in Phoenix. I will have a follow-up show on the 20th, on Friday the 20th. So if you happen to be in the Phoenix area, I will try to put information on there. If I forget, there's some on my YouTube channel and everything, or whatever, my Facebook or whatever. I'm a Serkworks everywhere. So, what about you, Scott? Where can everyone find you?
Probably the best place is on YouTube. You could just, it's Scott with one T, Campbell like soup, and just go to YouTube and search Scott Campbell Windows, and that's my window painting channel. That's my main channel. And then I also have a YouTube channel that's Scot Campbell Art, which is more drawing and sketching. And then I'm also on Instagram as Scot Campbell Art.
And I have all three of your channels, including Dark Ride, are all linked in the description so people can find
you. Oh, yeah,
so,
I have Dark Ride now, too, because I do the sculpting, too, and all that stuff.
Yeah, we joked, I think, because I think this is your fourth time on, and we joked, I think, last time because it seemed like every time we had you on, we had a new channel. So are you still at 3 channels? We have 4 now.
I actually have about 5, but those are my 3 art main channels.
Okay.
YouTube junkie, but I'm not on Facebook or Twitter, so.
Yeah, we were trying to hit you up on Facebook where you were.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Tumblr or Twitter or Red.
But you do have you said you had a Patreon now, right?
Yeah, I do have a Patreon account, and it's just it's my name. You just put Scott Campbell again. You could find it. Scott, I guess they put it like how they worded it. Scott Campbell is creating Windows Splash videos or something like that. But yeah, that's a really good deal. Like even for they do the $5 a month, so it's like $1.25 a week, and for that you get all my exclusive videos. And right now, if you just came onto my Patreon account, you would instantly have 70 videos to watch. So it's a good deal, but there's different levels too. So, but then also, I just also want to say too on my main my free YouTube channel, I have almost 900 videos you can watch for free also.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had a lot, but I don't quite have that many. All right, so I don't know how you guys want to kick this off. Do you want me to kind of talk about the show that I had, or?
Yeah, I'd like to hear about it. And you know, I wanted to tell you though, I had a show in Phoenix.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, about God, I'm thinking 7-8 years ago. It was a really interesting show. You would have loved it. Basically, it was a panel. It was all they had contacted me. I don't know who it was that contacted me, but they knew that I did cartoon art because they were doing a comic strip page, like a big comic strip page, and each person had a panel to do for the strip. It was really cool, and I wish I had some pictures I could show you, but so they would just give you a shape and then kind of the idea of the strip, and then you did it, and then they put all the paintings together on the wall like it was a comic page, and then they sold the paintings too.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So were you in attendance for that show, or was it?
No, and we could talk about that later about being actually there and stuff. But yeah, I'd like to hear about your you know, how your experience with the show.
Yeah, so I guess I should kind of explain how it all started. Because I mean, it's something I kind of always wanted to do, but I never really pursued it because, to me, you know, I'm not really a fine artist, so I never really thought too much about, you know, doing an art exhibit. You know, but I mean, I've shown my work. I mean, I've brought my work to conventions and things, but to me that's sort of a different animal. But so I have a friend who's a little more of a fine artist, and he's done some, you know, he's worked with some different fine art organizations, you know, in town and everything. And so he just kind of reached out to me because we meet every once in a while. We just, you know, catch up and talk about art and all that stuff with some other artist friends. And so, yeah, he said he partnered with this kind of, it's a fairly new gallery. And what it is so downtown, I guess it's considered downtown Phoenix. We've got this thing called Roosevelt Road, which is kind of the Phoenix art district. Yeah. And so there's a lot of art galleries and things along this Roosevelt Street, and it's kind of, and you know, then they've got First Fridays where they just have huge like art walks and street performers and food trucks and all that kind of stuff. And I at one point even thought about, well, maybe just setting up as like, you know, on the street, you know, but yeah, after doing, and not that it's a bad thing. I mean, that's definitely, I think, a great entry for a lot of people, but having exhibited it at comic conventions and things and kind of having sort of somewhat mixed results because I'm not really doing fan art or whatever, I just wasn't sure how that would go over if I said I figured it would probably not do as well as a convention. So I never really pursued that. But anyway, so they opened this new art space, which it's a house. They've got a lot of historical houses in that area because it's a fairly, you know, it's like one of the first neighborhoods in Phoenix. You know, it's downtown and everything. So a lot of, you know, as far as being out here in the West, as far as historical, I mean, sure, if you're back east, you've got houses that are hundreds of years old, but, you know, as opposed to maybe 100 years old or getting close to that or whatever. But anyway, so they renovated this house, and I don't know if the owner of the house is living there or if it's just a investment property or what, but they kind of converted the living room area into an art gallery because it's right where all the action is, right? You know, I mean, we had tons of traffic and everything. So, but they've shown, I guess they started showing, I think at the beginning of this year. And what they'll do is they'll show an artist every month, and it'll be First Fridays and then Third Fridays. So, you know, I was invited to show there, and at first I was like, that's cool. You sure? And you know what kind of work I do, which I knew he did because he's seen my work before, but it's just I never really thought my work would be sort of in that kind of a setting. But it was kind of cool. So, but as far as, you know, there was a lot of setup and everything before that because I'm used to showing it, you know, just comic conventions where you just take your prints and you just put them on a backdrop or whatever. But
so did you frame them and mat them, or
I didn't mat them, but I did frame them all. So, I mean, I guess if I would have had my druthers, I would have probably mounted them, but part of it was a time crunch. Part of it was just, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Mats on them and framing them. And
yeah, but I was able to, and it was expensive just to get all the frames. And I found some pretty good deals on frames. But if I was to mat them and do all that, that would be quite a bit more. And I didn't, I had no idea what I would sell, if anything, or whatever. So I did. We went and framed them all, and had to do all the wiring and everything, because that's part of the thing is the setup takes so long, and of course they provide you with what wall space you have and everything, and so I can kind of figure out. So I think I brought like 15 prints to display on the walls, and some of them were like 20 by 30. Some were
big.
Yeah. So I only had like 4 that I had 4 20 by 30 prints framed. I had one, and I wasn't even sure I would get this in time because it was like a special order, but I had one printed on canvas, 20 by 30. And then I went and got it. I wasn't sure if that was going to come, so I had another one of that same print done in a nicer frame, just in case that didn't come. And luckily, I got everything. So I had let's see. So I had 5 20 by 30s plus the 1 20 by 30 canvas, and then I had 8 12 by 18 prints. And then of course, then they have sort of a table set up, and they've got little I don't know what you call them, alcoves, or just little places where you can, little tables and things throughout the sort of the space where I could set up, I had my spinner racks and everything with my printed postcards and my original blueprint sketches and stuff like that. So it was a nice setup. And I did film a lot of stuff there, and I will put out a video. I think it's going to be, I might wait until after Third Friday. And I might even wait till next First Friday, even though I'm not exhibiting, because I might want to just go through and kind of show people what everything's like. Because once you're in there, I'm pretty much sequestered inside the thing. I can't walk around and look, but I want to get some shots of what everyone else is seeing kind of when they walk around. So I might wait till after next month's First Friday and then put the video up. So, but I'll show everyone. But it was pretty cool, yeah. And because of it was very, like I said, it's a very high traffic area, so we brought in a lot of people.
So was it a one-man show?
One-man show, yeah. So there was a few. The people who run the gallery, they do these little wooden monsters, and they had like a little. They're just tiny little wooden monsters. I'm holding up my hand, so I forgot I'm screen sharing, so you can't see that. But about the size of a finger, I guess. So they do these little wooden monsters, and they had like one little shelf for that, and then there are a couple other little things from artists that exhibited there in the past. But for the most part, all the wall space and most of the table space, it was all me, and it was billed as me, which was kind of cool. So and of course then you have to promote it. So I did some Facebook promotion and everything, and told the people at my day job and everything, because I do illustration there, but it's very different from what I was showing, and had a lot of those people come out, and other people are going to come out on on Third Friday, which is cool, because from what I hear, the Third Friday is like it's pretty dead. So I'm hoping to get some more people, but it would be kind of nice just to kind of cap it off and have a more kind of relaxing thing where I can stop and talk to people, because I was constantly busy talking to people, and I had like a lot of old friends and stuff. If you were to ask me whether it was successful, it was definitely. I sold about as much as I would at a decent day at a Comic-Con for me. So that was good, but I think it was more than that, just because, like I said, the amount of traffic, and I always hesitate to use the word exposure, but recognizing that there is good forms of exposure, I did get some good exposure, and especially to that kind of local audience, because most of what I do, people see, on the internet, so I don't get out as much with the local art scene as, a lot of people. So, and also just because a lot of the people came off the street. Certain people came from the invites and things like that. And, and it was cool. I did have a decent, a very good turnout as far as people that I invited, but a lot of people came off the streets, and just seeing them come in and really not knowing what to expect, and seeing kind of the reactions of their faces, and just talking to people.
It's exciting.
Yeah, because it's it's a lot different. You get a lot different reaction than you would at a Comic-Con, because people kind of know what you know what they're expecting when they go to a Comic-Con, where these people, they're, certain people, just, you could tell they lit up with just that kind of pop culture vibe and that mad science vibe that I do. Some people, just have different reactions, and just, it was weird just talking to different people. Like, there was one guy that was, he's like, some people go in and they're like picking out stuff, and this guy just keeps picking out more artwork and stuff. And I'm like, and of course I'm talking to people and stuff, and I just keep looking back at the guy and still looking through all this stuff. And so I start talking to him, and he bought a bunch of stuff for me, and he was like, I'm like your perfect customer. And he started going into kind of a story, and I guess he's like a teen counselor. And hopefully, I gave him my card, so hopefully he'll contact me. But he even had a camera, and I did a little interview for him and everything. But he's trying to do something similar. And like I said, hopefully he contacts me, because I was a little rushed, but it sounded like he wanted to do, I don't know if he was doing YouTube or what, but he wants to build sort of a, kind of a cool set or whatever, or something for, his counseling teens and stuff. So yeah, that sounded really cool. So it's cool when you meet people like that. And, I don't think this guy saw what I was doing on Facebook or anything. I assume he came out off the street. I'm not sure. But that was cool talking to him. And it was just a lot of cool, conversations and everything. There was previous to that, the week before, I was in a live chat with another artist's YouTube channel. And he had mentioned something about doing a show. And I said, oh, that's cool. I got a show, and it's in Phoenix. And there was an artist who is from Germany who just happened to be in Phoenix, and she said, "Oh, I'll come down." And I thought, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll see if you actually show up." And she did. She's visiting a friend here who moved here from Germany, and and so they came, and I talked to her and her friend, and so that was really cool, And it was just even if I didn't make any money, I think I would still consider it a success, because for one, it's something I haven't done before, and two, it's I don't know, it's just I don't know, it's an all around different experience. So so I'm kind of hogging the conversation, but yeah, that was sort of my experience with the show. I know you probably have a lot of, I don't know if you guys want to chime in on anything I said, but then I think I might want to pick it over to Josh, because I think Scott's going to, with as many shows as he's done, I'm sure he's going to have a lot of things to say. But the one thing that, do you guys have anything you wanted to add on to any of that?
I wanted to know, so is this something you are going to maybe consider doing it again, or like find venues where you can do your art, or is this kind of just something that you wanted to see what it was like, or?
Yeah, it was kind of for me, it was kind of like a bucket list thing. I can kind of mark that off. If somebody came, I don't know for me anyway, and not to say anyone else should do the same thing, or I would think if you want to pursue this kind of thing, there's ways you can do it, and probably ways you can get into shows like that, or even I've even heard about people just starting their own pop-up shows, like renting out space and advertising it and everything like that. For me, I don't know if I would pursue it, but I would definitely do it again if somebody came to me.
Yeah, if the opportunity.
At least this point in time, just because I got so many other things because one of the things it did do was it kind of threw everything off, because it was something that was unexpected.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to put some things on hold, but I'm glad I did.
It's like Inktober.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing a video every day and you're making the drawing every day, what I was doing, and it was, but I ended up finishing early. So, but yeah, it's when you take on something like an art show, it kind of just devours all your attention.
Yeah, but it was cool, and one of the things that I think I'm going to do, because I bought all these frames, I think I'm going to actually present. I think I'm going to buy some more frames, and I think I'm going to show my work at Comic-Cons in frames. I think that would add another level of professionalism to them, because I need to really try some different things, because I'm not doing fan art. I've got to do some extra stuff that's gonna, like, you know, that's gonna speak to people. And I think with this coming, I was invited as a guest to Phoenix Comic Con coming up in the end of May. So hopefully, as an invited guest, I know they're going to do some more promotion for me, and I'm doing some exclusive prints, which I'm kind of sort of working on, talking more than I'm working. But so these are part of 2 exclusive prints that I'm working on for them. They're going to put them in the you know, program and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully, with that, I can get some more people on my table than you know.
Yeah, those are nice.
So, but anyway, so yeah, so I definitely, there's a lot of takeaways. Just the fact that I kind of like how my work looks framed, so I'm going to present it like that. Hopefully, if I can. Yeah. It's a lot of extra stuff to transport, but I'm scaling down everything else. Like my big conveyor belt set, I'm going to strip that down. I'm not going to use any of that. It's just going to be all, you know, everything's going to be black except for the art. I'm just going to focus on the artwork this time around. I'm not going to really go crazy with all the, you know, the crazy pipes and things, because as much as I like that, I think it might distract from the actual art. So I'm going to do a lot of things differently and see that works. But since we're not really talking about Comic Cons today, which we will, I'm sure, in a future episode. But yeah, so that was kind of my experience with the shows. But what I think is really cool with the 3 of us, we've all done shows, but I think they've all been very different. Like, so Josh has done a group show just recently, I think. I don't know if that was the first show you've done, but it was a pretty prestigious gallery. I mean, a pretty well-known gallery. I
want to grab something. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So Josh, you exhibited at Gallery 1988, right? Mm-hmm. As a part of a group show. So I don't know if you want to talk about your experience with that.
Sure, yeah. So my experience with galleries is kind of weird because I think because of the school I went to, and then the fact that, like, when I was working on my MFA, at the time there wasn't really a lot of, like, focus for a master's on, like, doing, like, work for clients. It was more focused around, like, gallery type work. And so, like, even presenting the idea of doing a graphic novel, like, the final thing had to be a part of this, like, big thesis show. And so actually, so I've been in quite a few, like, group shows and gallery shows, but nothing on the level of, like, Gallery 1988 or something like that I think has such a draw for kind of, like, celebrities and, you know, kind of a high reputation and stuff. So, like, prior to that, like, my first art show was, like, when I was 18. Like, actually, no, sorry, when I was 20-ish, like, early 20s. I was offered the opportunity to have, like, a solo art show. And so I made, like, I spent, like, you know, 4 or 5 months. At the time, that was such a long time to make all these paintings, and I filled the gallery with these paintings and stuff. And that's actually the first time I really sold a piece. And it was when I was still kind of at junior college and kind of working, like, graveyard shifts at 8 a.m. p.m. and stuff. And then I remember really vividly, because it was one of the first times I really sold a piece, and I sold this drawing of an old man that I had done, like a portrait of an old man, and it was done in, like, pencil and pen and ink. And it was this really crazy experience for me because I hadn't really dipped into illustration yet or anything like that. I was still kind of attending college and taking, like, life drawing classes and stuff like that. So I had never really dipped in. I had never even considered really, like, clients or anything like that. And this guy wanted to pay, like, because I put these prices that were probably kind of ridiculous at the time considering the talent, but that I had at the time, which wasn't really developed. But this guy paid me like $350 for a drawing, and at awesome. At the time that was, like, insane. Like, I was like, somebody's paying me like hundreds of dollars for a single image, and so, like, that really was a really formative experience for me, and I got in the local paper and all of this stuff, and I just sent out postcards to, like, the gallery. At the time, it was called the Cedar Center Gallery. Now it's a much bigger deal than it was at the time. But they sent out postcards to, like, all of their normal clients. And And it was funny because I developed a relationship with that gallery, and this is when I was young, so I was still in bands and stuff, and the gallery was on a historical site. So from the gallery show, we also ended up getting this deal where we could rent out the local center. Like they had a whole, because it was this historical building, they had this like town hall type auditorium that was barely ever used. So we started actually renting it out from them at a discount because I was now a member of that gallery. And we'd throw like these massive punk rock shows. We'd book like 4 bands and we'd all split the revenue. So we'd all dip in. It was ridiculous to rent. Like for a massive venue, it was like $200 or something. So we'd all pitch in and just rent out this massive center. And then, you know, charge like $5 at the door, no security at the time, which was probably not a smart idea. And then like everybody just kind of volunteered their time, like friends of ours and stuff like that. And we flyered up the town and we'd like have these gigs. And all of that came out of my first gallery show. But like that got me really interested in art and in the idea of gallery shows. I think since then, I really haven't had that kind of experience in galleries where somebody's like, here's a bunch of money. So I think that like fast forward many years later, when I was going to Cal State Long Beach, I was invited to be in a lot of group shows. So we did a lot of group shows in Laguna, in Orange County. There was a really good friend of mine, Rick Reese, who like I want to get on here. He does the gallery thing way more seriously than I do. But he used to organize shows. So like I was doing skateboard decks for a while. And we'd have these art shows where I'd like just get free decks from the guy I did the skateboards for. And they were a triptych of skateboards. And so you just hang them. And the trick to hanging skateboards at the time, because like now they have these like gallery pegs specifically for mounting skateboards on the wall. But at the time, it wasn't really a normal thing to have like a skateboard in a gallery show. So we used to just take fishing wire and you could like wrap the fishing wire and then mount the fishing wire, and it would look like the skateboard deck was just floating on the wall. And it's kind of a good way to mount skateboard decks. So that was a cool show too, because you could, you know, like skateboards, if anybody works in the action sports industry and stuff, you know, it's like you don't get a lot of money doing skateboard designs, but it's a very like, at least for like smaller skateboard companies, like it's very like, hey, you do me this favor, I'll do you a favor, you know, kind of situation. And they're pretty legit about it. So like the guy who I had done skateboards for, it's a company called Worship Skateboards. Like they paid me like hardly anything at the beginning, but he was like, it was on the agreement, like I'll send you free skateboard decks whenever you need them. And so, and he pays shipping and everything. And so I'd get like, you know, 20 skateboard decks that probably cost them like $1 each, you know, because you can get blanks of skateboards for pretty cheap. But the printing was really nice on them. And then I could sell those for like $80 a piece, you know. So like I'd do an art show and then sell like 5 skateboard decks. It wasn't too bad for like a night, you know. And then like there were a couple other art shows, like tributes to friends who passed away, like in art school, and a couple other like kind of just art related shows where I'd sell like screen prints or something like that. Like I'd do, at the time I was taking like a screen printing class, and so I could do like, you know, a run of like 50 screen prints and sell like those signed and numbered, and matting them like I think Scott, you were mentioning Scott the window painter. You were mentioning that that like matting and framing and stuff. And like at the time, like I actually would go to Home Depot and get like this clear kind of plastic. It's like what they use in frames, cut to scale. And then I would use my own mat cutter to kind of cut the mats and build the frames like manually, because it was a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
But then like I just kind of like, to me, like the weird thing at the time, and this was when I was younger, was I just like really didn't want to do gallery shows. Like I wanted to do stuff that got printed and have that moment when you get stuff back from the like not from the gallery, but just I wanted to get that physical object that was printed, because like I really felt like that was art to me.
Yeah.
And the art gallery stuff would feel like, I mean, you part with the original, and then it really, you didn't have much after that. Like I didn't have something in a book. I might have ended up with like a piece that I could sell on my website or something, but so I kind of just bowed out of doing group shows and gallery shows, to my chagrin. So that, like, fast forward like 10 years from then, or you know, because it was about 10 years. It was like the first 5 years of when I was freelancing. I would just take anything. I'd take anything, like a gallery show. I'm on it. Like any opportunity, I'd just jump on, because I was hungry just to make a living doing it. But then I just got all curmudgeon-y when I was freelancing full time, where I just like would be like, I just don't have time to do a gallery show, because while it's nice and it's fun, it's like I could knock out an editorial and then kind of move my way forward to the next client. So fast forward to when the first time Gallery 1988, like I reached out to them because I had gone to this meetup. And I'm sorry, am I monopolizing all the time? I hope not.
No, you're fine. That's fine.
Okay, so at the time I had gone to this meetup called WineboCon, which was like organized by this by a couple people, like through Threadless, and it was for like people who were. This was when the forums on Threadless were like really active, and the internet was still kind of forum based, you know. And so all these people who kind of knew each other on the forums like organized this wine tasting for all the designers who had been printed on Threadless, and also people who were fans of Threadless. It was like a nice excuse to kind of meet all these guys that I interacted with online, who I considered my peers, you know. And so we went to that, and I talked to a couple guys that were like really huge on the internet and had like Threadless was their main thing, and we were both like Threadless alumni. Like they had as many wins on Threadless at the time. Like your amount of wins on Threadless really had a lot to do with your social currency online. And yet, like I would have more wins on Threadless, but they would have more followers. And so like I admired these people, so I wasn't like asking it out of competition, but just out of curiosity, as you do when you're trying to kind of build a following online. I would just say like, what made, like, how are you having so much success? You know, I feel like I'm kind of following the same steps, and I don't like see nearly that amount of like social currency. And all of them responded with like, do Gallery 1988. You live near LA, do Gallery 1988. And so, yeah, so I went to that thing a few times, and then finally I was like, maybe I should go to Gallery 1988. Maybe I should approach them. So I sent the gallery an email, and they were like, sure, we'd love to have you in our group shows. And here's like 4 shows coming up. And like I said, you know, this is, if I could go back in time, I would probably like, you know, I wouldn't think it was a smart idea, but at the time I was like, well, this would be nice to do, but I'm busy doing all this freelance stuff. And so I just literally, like, I had the opportunity come up and I killed it. And then, of course, they stopped sending me invites. Like, they invited me to like 5 or 6 group shows. And I think one of them was like their Crazy for Cult show, which I still haven't been invited to since, which is like their biggest show of the year. And I just was like, I don't have time. I don't do galleries. I'm doing that illustration thing. So once I kind of became an art director and became full-time, that's when I finally, like, looking back, was like, man, I really shouldn't, like, and this is about a year or 2 ago. I've talked about this on my vlogs, and I've definitely talked about this on here, but I made this conscious decision to start saying yes to more things, because I had developed in my career to kind of get to the point of saying no to things. And some of that, I think, is out of necessity, because you can't really spread yourself too thin and have success. You really do have to like target something. Like, I think each of us here, like professionally, have like a targeted thing that we're really good at, and we really honed and got professional at, and have managed to make a living at, right? you know, and part of doing that is being able to go, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this thing. I have to stay focused on this thing because I'm trying to make a living. But I had finally arrived at that realization that, you know, like while that was really beneficial starting out, like I need to actually start expanding my ability to say yes to things. Like, especially things that, you know, like for me, wow, this is getting off on a long tangent. And, you know, my point is I had just made this decision, like if something comes up and it seems, and I ask myself, and we've talked about this on the Artcasters, but if I ask myself this main question, if I go forward with this, will it cause harm or will it potentially be a good thing? And I've started saying yes to anything that's like, yes, it could potentially be a good thing and it's not going to cause harm. And this was one of them. Gallery 1988 finally reached out and this a couple years had passed since like they just cut off.
Where is Gallery 1988?
It's like right downtown in Hollywood, and I'm trying to, off the top of my head, I'm kind of forgetting.
It's still there?
Melrose.
It's still there?
Yeah, it's like a pretty key location.
Is it a lowbrow art gallery?
Totally a lowbrow art gallery. They sort of started, there were like two galleries that really kind of pushed forward the whole themed, like pop culture themed art show thing.
Right.
They're one of them. So there's like three kind of key players in that whole movement happening. It's like one is Alamo Drafthouse, and that's films. And they just started inviting gig poster artists to do movie posters. They have these big film screenings, and they'll show like movies that have cult followings, and then like they'll give everybody who comes like and pays like it's a little higher than what it would cost to go to a movie. But you go to the film and you also get this limited edition silk screened or really nicely printed poster that's a unique take on that movie, right? So that's one thing that kind of blew up that whole thing online, and like Gallery 1988 having these themed shows, and what really kind of made, I think because of their location, they do like a show, you know, themed around like Lost. Which, you know, like back when Lost was on TV. And then J.J. Abrams would show up at the gallery show, you know, like, and so then it would get press because it would be like, holy crap, like J.J. Abrams is at this weird little art show.
Right.
And because of the location, because it's so close to the film industry, it's like usually when they do a themed show, somebody having to do with the actual thing that they're doing tribute to will show up. And then as that kind of exploded and like kind of all galleries were doing that, one of the things they've done to differentiate themselves is like most of what they do there is actually licensed now. So it's like they'll actually get licensing deals for the artists that are in the show so that
that's cool.
Yeah. And it's popular and it's definitely spread. I think there's a couple other galleries like Gallery Nucleus. There's like a couple more key galleries, but they're one of the fundamental players that kind of.
You know about La Luz de Jesus?
Yeah. Well, definitely. But Luz de Jesus is in the Bergmont scene, isn't it? Or is that a different? I know Rick's shown there.
It's on Hollywood Boulevard.
Were they part of? Were they part of Meltdown? Is La Luz de Jesus? Are they still around? Because I know Meltdown's not there anymore, or it won't be.
I don't know. I know Rick, like I said, that I have friends who are like way more key players in the art scene, and that was one of the galleries he did. Yeah, and I think that one's a little more high end. Like Gallery 1988 is unique because they kind of like get
punk rocky kind of place.
Definitely, I mean, it definitely has that vibe. Like it's a lowbrow scene, but like it's kind of accessible to the common guy because you're entry level. Like you can walk away with an individual piece of art for like and only have spent like $35.
Right.
You know, you have like a unique numbered like limited print. So that was kind of the catch with them was they just kind of made it more about prints, but prints that were priced at a level, and then themes that were like literally just pop culture themes. And so when I got invited again, like I think that was like, yeah, it was like this year. I was like, I'd be an idiot to say no, because ever since, like, I had been too busy to kind of do stuff for them. I had thought back like years later and been like, you know, I probably should have done that. Like, that could have done some.
So is your gallery art the same theme kind of stuff as your illustration and comic art?
It really depends. I mean, like, most of the stuff I did for galleries was very themed with like what I was doing for illustration at the time.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I just kind of stopped doing galleries. And then now, like, what I'm doing, like what I did for Gallery 1988, like, literally it was one of those things of like, this is my year where I'm supposed to be saying yes to things. And it was literally like lined up perfectly with my personality, because it's like the theme was something that if I said no to, it would be untrue to everything about myself. Because it's like,
it'd be like if someone was having a clown show and they called me Extremo, hey, you want to be in the clown show?
Well, kind of, because like in this case, it was like, it was just something I really love. And I'm not a big fan of doing fan art, but the fact that it was licensed, and then the fact that it was Monty Python. And I was like, I literally grew up on Monty Python. My whole sense of humor is based around Monty Python. It kind of formed who I am. And so it's like, you know, like a lot of my early friends were like, the thing we'd have in common was Monty Python and comic books, you know? Yeah. And so we'd sit around, we'd either be talking about science fiction novels we were reading, we'd talk about like Piers Anthony, like what happened in Xanth. And then we'd also talk about like the comics we were reading, which it didn't really matter if it was the same comics. And then we talked about Monty Python. So they had 2 shows they invited me to. There was one that I literally had no time to do. And then the other was Monty Python. So I had to pick between a Focus Features themed show that would be more lucrative to do business-wise, or doing Monty Python. And I was like, well, I'm going to do Monty Python. And then after agreeing to do it, they're like, by the way, like word has it, like an original member of Python will be there. And so I like do the show. I go there. The opening goes really well. There's pretty good traffic. I could see a couple of my pieces sell. I still don't know the amount that have sold, but I've looked on their site and I'm within the top 10, and it was a pretty big group show. So, but that's
good. Yeah, there were a lot of prints there.
Yeah, and like super good artists too. Like, and some guys who like people who are like have a much bigger name in that scene than I do. So it was kind of nice that. And I also take pride in the fact that I didn't pick the obvious thing, because like everyone, because I knew, because it's Monty Python, everyone's going to pick doing the Black Knight or the Bloody Rabbit or like all the stuff from Holy Grail, because like Holy Grail's their big thing.
Right.
And I picked a bit that's just one of my favorite sketches, because like that's really like that's where like when I fell in love with Monty Python, it was like reruns on the BBC channel, like and I think PBS was running them for a little bit, like late at night. I can't remember. I know there was a channel that was running reruns late at night, and it was all stuff from Flying Circus, their show. And like so there was this one bit that just used to crack me up, and I recorded it on VHS at the time and used to watch it over and over again. And it was also on now for something completely different, which is like it's like a group, a collection of like some of their best sketches, but they kind of redid them to flow as like a compilation movie. And so it was the funniest joke in the world bit. And so that's what I did. I did it. It was a positive experience. It's like I bumped into Priscilla from WineboCon, which was cool. She's like another threadless artist. And so she's still doing Gallery 1988. She was one of the artists who was like, you should do Gallery 1988. So that was cool. And then I met Eric Idle.
How many people are in the show usually, the shows they have?
These are pretty big shows. Like they range. They have some that are solo shows, you know? And then for these big group shows, it's usually like 40 to 50 artists.
Oh, this must be tons of people show up then.
Yeah, so it draws a crowd, and then the nice thing is, like I said, like it was pretty cool because like Eric Idle came, and so I got to meet Eric Idle, and we kind of bantered for a little bit, and I did the nudge, wink, wink.
How old is he now? About, do you know?
He's got to be, you know, in his 70s at least.
Yeah.
I would. But he's still kicking. He's still putting out content, and I got to do Python. And for me, that was like huge. And I was like, okay, that.
Didn't you post something on Instagram about that? You had a picture of.
Yeah, yeah. My wife, who's awesome, was just like, go take a picture with him. And this is the cool thing about Eric Idle. When I met him, I was just being typical geeked out guy, you know. I'm like, oh hi, I'm a big fan, stuff like that. He's like, well, what's your favorite bit that I'm in? And I was like, oh dude, nudge nudge, wink wink, nods as good as a wink to a blind bat. And he's like, you're a man of the world, Squire. And I was like, that's so cool. He like acknowledged it and did the bit with me. And then I mentioned that I actually blanked out on the name of the sketch, but there's this sketch where he just kind of starts going off on this long tangent. My wife and I were literally listening to it in the car because it was on one of their albums, because they did these like albums. They used to be on vinyl, and then they re-released on CD. And it's the sketch where it's like, you know, he just basically just starts going on this long rant, and I think he's like I'm forgetting the bit again, but it's basically like John Cleese the whole time just starts getting like driven nuts because Eric Idle just won't shut up. He's going on this long tangent, and it gradually just escalates to just John Cleese being like, shut up, and Eric Idle just going on this crazy tangent about like tourists. And anyhow, so like I mentioned that was one of my favorite bits too, because he's just like he's brilliant and his timing is brilliant. And he actually told me the sketch that it was and kind of helped me out. And then it was like, which piece is yours? And I mentioned it. And then he actually came up to me at the end of the show, near the end of the show. I was like, so you did the world's funniest joke one over there? I love it. It looks really good. And he remembered my name and all of that. And I was like, that's probably half of how he's been successful, is like that he's very focused on people. So it was a cool experience. But like, anyhow, that was a very long-winded version of like my history with galleries, but it was cool, and it was definitely something I'd do again if I'm ever invited, because you know, it was a cool opportunity. And like Scott was pointing out, the unique thing is when you're a cartoonist or an illustrator, you often, like right now, or like what we're doing right now, maybe like doing an Artcast or something like that, is a little different than our usual experience, which is just like me and this page and just hours of time and maybe listening to a podcast or the radio or you know, an album or something. It's a very isolated thing doing art. So there is something cool about the social element of doing art shows, you know, and especially lowbrow art shows. Like I'm a big fan of lowbrow art shows because like you don't have to kiss up to some rich guy when you get there, which is cool. And you get to meet like average people who are like gonna buy cool art. And occasionally there's some like big guys there, but it's not quite like the whole, you know, like you don't have to go to Art Basel in like Florida and like kiss up to all these art collectors that are gonna, you know, swap your art on the stock market. You know, like I like the ones that I think we're more likely to participate in, like the more lowbrow art scene. But anyhow, I'm really curious to hear your experience with it, Scott, because like I said, I think if I counted them all up, it's probably like 10 or 11. Like I didn't do a million art shows. I didn't do 40. And
I didn't know you did that many, Josh. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know you had done that many. So I'm like the baby of the group, definitely. So, well,
and from doing it, it's like illustration too, or comics, where it's like part of getting into doing galleries is you just kind of do it, and then it like opens up that window of like, oh, that's how it's done. It's not rocket science like setting up an art show. It's like a lot of it's like getting your first client in illustration, where it's just like you just kind of approach the gallery or they approach you, and then you get in a gallery and now you've got a gallery show.
Yeah.
And then like that makes it easier to get the next one and so on, right?
Yeah.
It's not, you know, but I think it is kind of mystical until you've done it, because I still remember that first time doing it, just being like, like stressed and being like, this is a big deal. And I still felt that way about the Monty Python one, but that was partially because I just really liked them. And I knew the other artists in there would be good. And so there's that friendly competition thing where I'm like, well, I got to at least be in the middle. Like, I don't want to be the worst art piece there in a group show. Scott, I want to hear.
That's not fun at all. Yeah, you want to be the best, or at least in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, like, you definitely don't want to be that guy, like, because that's the other thing about gallery shows is like a lot, like, especially when there's on opening day, if it's a big group show, like where you have like 40 or 50 artists, like it's a pretty big opening. And so nobody knows you're the artist. So there will be people who are just like, man, this one sucks. You know, and you're like, you're standing near your piece like, oh, what are people thinking? So you don't want to be that guy, you know. Right. But I'm curious about your experience with it, Scott, because like from what you touched on it before a little bit on our cast, and I think you got a little further in it, and I'm kind of curious. I just want to hear your experience. Like, what was your first, like, you kind of mentioned the first show, but like, how did it kind of branch off into other further shows and stuff?
Well, I didn't, there was probably a couple decades between that time and, you know, the next show. But the serious stuff didn't start till 2002. So there was a big gap from, you know, the 80s to 2002. But yeah, I think how it started was this in 2002. I got a friend of mine. She there was a Powell's Books in Portland. You know, is huge, and their downtown bookstore. And so she approached me, and they have this thing in there called the Basil Hallward Gallery, and it's just basically a wall, and there's a space where people can come look. And it was just part of the bookstore, but they would have openings of shows. So the person, her name was Marcy McFarland. She came to me and she said, "You should have an art show here." So I was like, okay. You know, like there wasn't a lot to it, you know, but so basically I did just big cartoon cutouts, you know, like large pieces, because I got so you know, I wasn't used to working small anymore or doing illustration and everything. You know, I'm doing windows, so you know, I'd be doing these. I did big faces and heads and just, and it was lowbrow art. You know, I was doing lowbrow art, and I didn't really even think about it as at the time, you know, too much. It's just I was kind of like lowbrow with not knowing that I was lowbrow. And,
so Scott, did you created pieces specifically for this show?
Yes, all of them.
That's interesting.
So
I guess Josh did that too. See, for me, it was basically my work that I had already done. So that's a little different.
Yeah. Well, the show was it was called, I think it was Wacky, Weird, and Wonderful, the works of Extremo the Clown. Because from the beginning, I went by Extremo the Clown. And for good or bad, you know, it's just, I thought it would be effective. And for lowbrow art, you know, it was kind of quirky and weird. So, but I had some really awesome pieces, you know, and just like just weird stuff. Like I had one of a big or actually it was the hot dog was in the later show. I had one of Santa Claus and a witch kissing Santa Claus, and they looked like they were stoned. And it was called Holiday Hijinks. And I think I had 13 or 14 pieces, but they were big. I mean, they're, you know, 20 by 30 and bigger, and some were taller than that, like maybe 2.5 by 4 feet high, you know, large pieces. And they were all done on basically press board, you know, like masonite. And then what I would do is I would take silicone caulking, that smelly kind, you know, it's really strong. But I would cut out pieces of pine or cedar, like 1x2s, and glue them to the back of it. And then I would put the wire between that, so they would set off from the wall. There was no frames, but they were all cut out. They had shape to them. Oh, and I had one that was really popular. It was called Kathy Kitty Goes to Ice Cream City. Just this really super cute cat eating ice cream cones with bright shapes. And I'll tell you, if I had 10 of those, I could have sold them all because people just flipped out over it. And I had another one. I think I actually did sell all of them. And I sold them all, and I think I traded a couple too. And but there was another one I sold. It was just a guy's face, you know, really cartoony stuff, just like my window work. And the guy's big nose guy, and his head's exploding, his brain is shooting out of the top of his head, and there's the lettering on top, you know, blam, as his brain's exploding. You know, and it was just weird, you know, freaky stuff like that. There was one of a dog, and he had a crab claw for an arm and like a horse hoof, and part of his back was exposed and the spine, and he had a bowl of food that said Spot on it, but it was called he had like a human foot or something. I mean, he's just a weird Franken-dog character. But it was, I'm trying to remember the name. It was The Drawbacks of Genetically Altered Pet Food or something. It was a take on the GMO thing. And I sold that one to Greg Escalante, who is the founder of Juxtapose magazine. But anyway, I sold a lot of pieces. It was really cool. And that led into the whole lowbrow art scene with Greg. I had been talking to Greg Escalante on the phone. I'm not on the phone, but I mean email back and forth. And this is before, you know, I think it was before Facebook, and I don't even know if MySpace was out yet.
He just passed away recently, didn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah, he did. This last September. He's the same age as me too, which is crazy. But yeah, I didn't see that coming. That was freaky. But anyway, it's still freaky to me. It just seems unreal. And I was supposed to go see him too this summer. I was gonna take my van down because I'm working on Dark Ride, and was gonna take him for a ride in it and go around and stuff. But anyway, I was talking to him, and we were emailing back and forth. And I'm always about entertaining everybody, no matter who they are, no matter what. You know, I give a lot of people attention, no matter, you know, who they are, really. And I didn't know who he was at the time. And and I think I talked about this before on one of these podcasts, but anyway, I got to know him and stuff. And he was the one that said, yeah, you should have an art show. And then he started telling me, you know, he owns Copernason Gallery and all this stuff. And he's like on the board of directors of the Grand Central Art Center for Cal State Fullerton. They're a big art center down there in Santa Ana. And so he was really the key to me getting into the whole lowbrow art scene on the West Coast. But yeah.
You know, that's funny. One of my friends in grad school worked at the gallery at Fullerton and like got like a curation award for like doing stuff there recently. But like they do like a lot of stuff with like OC and LA Weekly and stuff.
Oh
like,
yeah, do you remember?
And this is like,
do you remember his name?
Her name, yeah.
Yeah, what was her name? Do you remember?
You know, it's sad, but I'm blanking.
Yeah.
Because we're friends on Facebook, but
I know how that is. Believe me. Wait till you're 62.
Yeah, I mean that was like about 10 years ago. So, but it is a really thriving scene, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've had a lot of shows there. I've had probably, I'm thinking 4 or 5 shows at the Grand Central Art Center.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I had the first show, Extremaganza, and then I had 100 Artists See Satan, and that had 100 artists in it. And then I was in another one, Clown Town, and then there was one more. So I guess there was like 4, maybe a group show. But yeah, I've had some. The Clown Town show was just, that was fun. That was wild too. But so that show, I don't think I even. It was called Clown Town was the name of the show. it was going to be a one-man show, but I invited 2 other people to be in the show with me because I felt like I didn't have enough stuff to fill up the whole thing. So I found 2 other artists that I thought would fit with that theme. And
That's awesome.
I didn't sell anything though at that show. And then Extreme Organza, that show took me 18 months to do all the paintings for. It took me 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And I had 133 paintings, and they were big. But I sold a lot of them. I don't know how many I sold. I mean, I think I sold like, but then I ended up giving them away. I'm crazy like that too. I'd give them to people that were helping me or whatever. But I think I sold about, I'm sure I sold at least 100 of them.
Wow.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. And I had a show in New York. I've had a show in Florida, a couple of shows in Florida, Phoenix, Sacramento.
Sorry, I just remembered her name, Yevgenia Michalhawk. I can just never pronounce her last name, and that's why I was trying to pause to like, but she's rad. Like she does curated shows with like, so she was in grad school with me at the time, and that was her day job, was like co-curating that gallery, and then I think she's taken over full curation of it. And another curator friend of mine, Jenny Cotterill, who did she did curation for like Hurley for a little bit, but it's all that like it's funny because it's all predecessor. I think it's all after, like, to me it's cool because it's like thinking like 10 years earlier, you were doing like,
yeah.
I think that's cool, and that's so outside of my wheelhouse. Like it always fascinated me because it's a totally different scene. Like you were saying, like, I mean, how long? Like 18 months to build a body of work. That's
that was really challenging. I mean, I had to work every weekend and every day and do paintings.
Yeah.
And I had to keep doing it. I had to get a U-Haul truck and I brought my car with me. I had to pull that behind a big U-Haul, and I had to put all the paintings. Plus, I was building a fun house. The art within the gallery. I was building a fun house.
A fun house?
Yeah, it's a UV 3D fun house that we built in 5 days with walls. I mean, it was an event. It was like crazy.
So
we had
were these
2,000 people at the opening. 9 bands played at my opening all day. 9 bands were playing all day outside in that courtyard.
So now, like, how do you organize something like that? Was that with the curator? Was that through Juxtaposed? Like, who?
A lot of it was just me. I was on it. Like I was a spokesperson for Createx Paint.
Yeah.
And then I knew Greg Escalante, who was the guy. I ended up getting a double-page spread in Juxtaposed, like right when you open the magazine.
That's awesome.
It said Extreme Organza. We're gonna have a fucking blast. You'll have a fucking blast. And the fucking was right across the spine, so you didn't see that. And it had a nuclear bomb with Extremo's face in it, and then I got a guy from Florida to be in that show with me, Scott Olson, at the Copernacan Gallery. I had about maybe a dozen pieces there, and then I was, it was 3 nights. Like one show was at the Copernacan Gallery, the next show was at the Key Club on the Sunset Strip in a bar, and then the third day on Saturday was the Grand Central Art Center, which was where most of the paintings were, and a fun house.
It's so awesome.
And then Monster Garage came down to interview me on Saturday too at the same time while I was there. Monster Garage with Jesse James, that show. But yeah, I was really into promotion, but I got Createx magazine. They, it said sponsored by Createx magazine, on the top, and it's just like it was a big deal. It took 1.5 years to put it together, and I had kinetic stuff like UV 3D stuff. I had a strobe light room with black and white art as a part of it, and I mean, you come in the gallery and the wall. I painted the walls, and then I had my paintings over the walls of the paintings. like I had a big tree in the gallery, and that had a cut out of a vulture, a painting I was selling in the tree. And I had just, you know, clowns and just weirdos and freaks, and just, you know, it was really wild. It was a big deal.
So how long would you have for like the actual, because like, so I have another buddy of mine from grad school. His name's Kyle Johnson, and he's done like TED Talks and stuff. It's fascinating. Like, to me, it's always interesting seeing the gallery side of things. And like, especially friends of mine who've had far more success, like it sounds like you did with it, where he'd do these installations where it's like one of my favorite pieces that he did back when I was in grad school, kind of before he started making his way into like the actual, like more legitimate art gallery scene. It was cool. It's like he built this big, most of his stuff is made out of cardboard. And he has this like whole workshop. Like, so his day job at the time was working on the galleries on campus at Cal State Long Beach. So he was the guy who like would help you set up your gallery, you know, your gallery show. And then like at night, he'd use that to basically rent out this big warehouse space in the docks in Long Beach. And he'd make these pieces like out of like cardboard, you know, so he'd make like little cardboard cities, like everything was out of cardboard. And like, and these massive, I mean, like by little, I mean like in scale, but they'd just be these massive, like overviews of Long Beach with like, you turn a wheel and like the clouds move across and like, but even when he was in grad school, he started doing this kind of kinetic stuff where it's like, you know, like one of his graduate pieces that I used to look at and just was amazed by, because I met him. I used to, at the time I smoked cigarettes, and I'd talked to him on smoke breaks, even when I was an undergrad, because I worked at the art store on campus. And so he'd take breaks and we just smoked cigarettes and talk art together. And I had no idea like how good he was and like how epic his stuff was. And I'd just casually be like, yeah, I'm working on my comic, you know, and like at the time I didn't have clients or anything. And like, then I'd like look up his work, and he's like in like, you know, he's in like art galleries, like, and not like, you know, actual museums and stuff. And but like his gallery show, like you'd go, there was one where it's a submarine. It's a big submarine, and its periscope is facing a blank page with a bunch of erased out art. And so you go in, and if you look through the periscope, it was an animation that he did, drawing, erasing on that piece of paper from that angle. So you see like this whole submarine attack thing going on in like charcoal.
So he does like all big installations of different things.
Yeah, like really like full of installations and stuff like that. Like one of the ones he did recently was like a death ray that's like, once again, all cardboard, but it's like a death ray, and it's like literally just, it looks like a beam that's hit the gallery, and then he installed all the different flames across the wall of the gallery. So it looks like and he makes these massive cardboard planes and stuff. But anyhow, the point of me bringing that up is like I've seen the work that's involved just from like before he was doing these, like he scales it up every time, but it takes like months and months and months just to install it, you know? So I'm kind of curious, like how long do you get in a gallery like that to install your work? Like when you're doing this like interactive thing where you've got kinetic sculpture, you have paintings over paintings, like how long do they give you to like set up the space?
Well, I did it in 5 days.
5 days?
Yeah, and I had people, but I had about 4 or 5 people, like electricians and builders, helping me, and it was all like just going for it and working long hours. I had this one room, it was lined with red fur with red Christmas lights in it, and I would sometimes come into that room, and as people walked by in the gallery, and I had my monkey puppet hanging from the ceiling, and I would lower it onto people's heads and make them spill their drinks and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It was like, yeah, it was, and there were stilt walkers and people in panda bear suits and cowboys and just freaks and weirdos, and it was a circus, you know. It's like, you know, I forget what the theme was, you know, that's let's put the fun back in fine art. I mean, it was just like, it was crazy and colorful. And it was like you walk in the beginning, it's like you're in an alleyway and there's Christmas lights and all my paintings. And then on the other side is the wall of the gallery of the walkthrough they go into. And then there's a sign that says, if you have, epilepsy or problems with having seizures, don't go in here, because it was a strobe light. It's the stroborama room. So everything was black and white, checkered. You walk in, there's a strobe light, and there were 6 paintings, and they're all just black and white. And they're all twisted on the wall. It was like something out of a Night Gallery or Twilight Zone episode.
That's so awesome. So
they walk through this little area, and then they pull the screen apart. And I had five. I went to like Target or something, and I bought 5 of these little $20 tape players. And so I had like, there was like weird music everywhere. Like it'd be like Flintstones, that's the Flintstones, and the Modern Stories family. And then the next would be some sound effects of or whatever, it's just, and the sounds would overlap as people walk. It was just, it was chaotic. It was colorful and weird. And, and then here I am, Extremo the Clown. I had grown my hair down to my shoulders. It was Hot Topic red. And I had this big fucking clown suit with these $300 professional clown shoes, and I was manic, I'm running around going, hey, everybody, woo-hoo! What do you think of the art? Want to buy one? They're not that expensive. It's just weird. It was freaky.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't really an art show. But then they go through the strobe room, then the kind of the finale, it's like these two or three kind of big rooms. They walk in, there's giant black light kinetic things spinning, and I got like disco ball motors and had pieces spinning in circles, and it was all UV 3D. You have to wear glasses, so it was chroma depth. And I mean, it was just wicked. And it had a couple couches in there. People could just sit and look at, trip out of. And the show was for a month, right? They left it up for 3 months.
Wow.
They left it up till September because they just loved it so much. But they said that the people, that sometimes like it might be on a Sunday or whatever, and things are kind of quiet, but then they'd smell dope. And then go in there, and these local, because it was 60%, Mexican American in Santa Ana. So these gang guys would go in there and sit there and just smoke and look at the black light paintings. And they just sit there, and it was just, it was really trippy. But yeah, it was really, I did really well. I've got a magazine I wanted to show you. This was a part of the promotion. This people from, I don't know if you can see it here, Riviera Magazine. This came out. This is luxury living in Orange County and the California Riviera. Anyway, I managed to get an ad in here. I didn't have to pay for it. And I didn't even know how to do, I wasn't even that good at Photoshop, but man, I learned quick. I learned that the format that I had to create the ad in, and I put this ad in here. And
so to put the ad in, did you send out like you sent out press releases and stuff? I got
this ad in here because Greg Escalante knew somebody or knew whatever, but I wanted to show you this ad. This is my car. This is the car, my art car.
Wow.
It's my Mazda 626. It's called Mirabilis Statuaris Vehiculum.
Huh.
And in the back, you can't see it, but in the back it had a 3.5 foot tall head with a waterfall. So I towed this down there to the show too. And I wrote the copy too for this. Let me read it to you. It's trippy. At the top it says, "Been there, done that." Cal State Fullerton, along with the city of Santa Ana, has been in the forefront of a national movement to design and build artist enclaves within cities. As a result, 2nd Street, east of Broadway in the heart of downtown Santa Ana, has undergone a unique metamorphosis, transforming it into a distinctive artist village. Oh, the top is, "Been there, done that, doesn't apply here."
Huh.
And then on the other side it says, The focal point of this new art scene is the Cal State University of Fullerton Grand Central Art Center. Monthly first Saturday openings highlight incredible local and national artists amidst live music and outdoor revelry. Each month, the tattooed and pierced mingle with the sleek and sophisticated. Saturday, June 7th, 7 p.m. brings us Oregon's eccentric artist performer, Extremo the Clown. And then at the bottom, it's got all the, you know, the information and stuff. But so this kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, that's huge.
You know, and so that was my, you know, probably the biggest show. And then after that, you know, I have visions of glory and gonna do this and that. But, you know, I gave up after a while because it wasn't, you know, it's got to be what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it can't be, I want to do this because I want to get famous, or I want to do this because I want to make money.
Yeah.
Like you gotta like sitting around and painting all the time, you know, and you gotta be into that. And when I was younger, my brother were artists, fine artists, and you know they'd had shows and stuff, but they never really got any kind of big success.
Yeah.
So when I was young, I thought to myself, you know, I love to draw, and I am an artist, you know, I just am. But you know, I think I'd do better if I can do art that's going to make somebody else money. Because if you can do art that's going to make somebody money, you're going to make money. And so that kind of, you know, so I started kind of wanting to be an illustrator and stuff. I was pretty good at it. I used dip pins and repeatiographs, and we used to use chart pack lettering and screens. You know, you cut out the shading screens and patterns and letraset and all that stuff. This was in the, you know, the 70s and early and 80s. But so I wanted to do that. But then I got into window painting, and I did it for a lot of years. And then when I came to Portland in '86, I just started doing it full time. And so I lost that skill as an illustrator. You know, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
And then all my stuff was devoted to window painting. And then in 2003, I started doing the art shows, and that went on for probably till 2008 or 2009. So maybe about 6 or 7, 8 years, I did art shows here and there, little group shows. But I always felt like I didn't fit in, you know?
It's interesting that, because that's about, let's see, 2009, I lived in Portland, you know? So it's like, I bet there was like some weird overlap where I probably was like doing things in the city at the same time you were having art shows in the city.
Yeah, I had a show at a place called Gallery Bink on Burnside.
Nice.
I think I was in a couple shows there. And one of the shows, I had some art at Gallery Bink, and then I had another show up the street at some place. It was a place called Nocturnal. It was like a bar, but they had room for paintings. That was a fun show. And then I think my last big show, and I actually curated a show too that was really cool. It was called Ghosts. And I put on the show. I didn't even have art in the show. I just created the show, but it was really, really cool. I painted the walls, and it looked like they were burned, and I got old sheets from like the Goodwill and tore them up, and then I stained them with paint and stuff and had them hanging off the ceiling, and you know, I decorated it like really freaky. I was really proud of that. And I got people from all over, you know, the United States. I would call people and say, hey, you want to be in this group show? I had about a dozen artists, and that was really something that I'm kind of proud of that I did. It was really cool. But I had a show there too at this space. It was a place called Joe Buddy's in Portland on Foster. And it was that show, I think I sold everything too. And then my sister had made crocheted puppets of Extremo the Clown. We sold a bunch of those too. And then I was doing roller derby at the time. I was the mascot for the High Rollers roller derby team.
Oh, nice.
I was the Joker's Wild. I would come out in a costume and skate around. And anyway, all the roller derby team showed up at the show, all the women, and that was fun. And I had a plethora of different things, sculptures and paintings and more kind of realistic paintings and some UV 3D stuff and just a lot of different things. And that was really successful. And then plus the guy, I don't remember what he took, like 20%, if even it was that. But I think if somebody wants to do shows like, you know, like with their art, I think it really is good to start with the lowbrow scene because it's so accepting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like you have to be some big established mainstream fine artist to get into a group show. You know, you can just put your feelers out and watch for people they, you know, call to artists. You know, they might have a show, the spider show. So anything about spiders. I was in a show in San Diego and it was called, God, what was it called? It was something about guns or shooting. But I had a great piece for that show. Do you know who Chet Zar is?
Heard of him? Yeah, I've heard him on podcasts before. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's very dark, right? It's very dark.
Yeah, he does oil paintings of really freaky. But he, I talked to him for a while and was, you know, I wouldn't call him a good friend or anything, but we interacted a little. But he did a lot of the stuff on designed the characters on Hellboy, you know, and he's a sculptor and he's a painter and yeah, it just does weird stuff. Anyway, I was talking to him and I said, yeah, I want to do an oil painting, you know, so he gave me some books to read. And so I did this oil painting. It took me like 3.5 months to do one little painting. I think it was 12 by 18, but it was for this, because I did it, you know, like they tell you to do it. You paint it and then you do glazes and you got to let them dry for a couple weeks. And then you do another glaze and then you put another layer of oil painting over it. But it was an awesome painting and it was, you know, semi-realistic, but it was, I think the show was called Shoot 'em Up. It was a place called Out of Fish Out of Water Gallery. It was just really weird shit. And the guy did really weird stuff. The guy, he was actually in my clown show. His name's Kelly Hutchison, but he would go by Dark Vomit. That was his name. Anyway, he did just really weird, funny, just freaky paintings. Like did a painting of Walmart and it's on fire and just weird stuff. But anyway, God, I lost track of what I was talking about. I went on the sidetrack.
Well, you were talking about working for a really long time on this oil painting. Oh,
right. Chet Zar had turned me onto some books, and so. But anyway, the thing I did, for the show, the theme, it was about guns and stuff. So I did a painting of Ronald McDonald, and it was pretty realistic, a realistic oil painting style, and it had a realistic hand that went off the screen, the arm holding a gun, which I actually took a picture of my brother-in-law holding a gun that he had and took a photo so I could duplicate it. And it's pointed at Ronald McDonald's head, and he's looking over and he's crying. Ronald McDonald's crying, and then in the background, in shades of teal and aqua colors, is like the Hamburglar and Grimace and Birdie, all the McDonald's characters, and they're crying and they're screaming and they're all upset. But it's called "Would You Like Fries with That?" But anyway, it's a great painting, and I sold that to a friend. I didn't sell it at the show there. I kept it, but I have some prints of it too. They're really cool. God, I should have looked around and see if I had it. I could show it to you. I might be able to dig it out. But anyway, I sold it to him. His name's Herod Blank, and he was he's kind of the art car guru. You know, he's all about art cars, and he makes art car films. But he was one of the clowns in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I think the tall one.
Saw that in the theater.
But yeah, I think it's really a doable thing for artists. If anybody's out there listening or ends up watching this later on YouTube, you know, it's really just, is it what you want to do? You know?
Yeah.
When I started doing in 2003, I met artists that were like me, that were just starting, that are doing good now. They make a living off their art, but I never stuck with it. I never, because it takes a lot of perseverance. Like anything you do, it's more perseverance than anything. You know, it's not even how good you are always or how talented. You know, I mean, that's definitely a factor in anything you do. But yeah, it's perseverance is the main thing. Like with window painting, you know, my perseverance level, I just kept going and going and going. And now I got 70,000 windows, you know, under my belt. If I had done 70,000 paintings, I'd probably be making a living, you know, off it because I'd be really good at it. And
yeah, it's a slow build. I mean, like, to me,
it's like being an actor or an author. You have to keep going, and you know, and that was kind of my thing, is I wanted to be one of the stable of artists juxtaposed, which is all arbitrary. They decide, I don't know how it works, how they decide, oh, your art's valid, because you know, some of it's what I consider not that great, and then some of it, like Mark Ryden or Todd Shore or you know, some of these people, that their fucking stuff is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You know? But they're obviously going to get in. But then there's a whole level of people like me that aren't, you know, like them, like Da Vinci's of lowbrow art. But at the same time, my work is unique and it has character and it's really funny and weird. You know, it's like you have to stick to it.
Yeah.
I had a show in Seattle that was great too. It was called Sweet Sickness or something. That was a good show. I think I sold all the pieces at that show, but I had some really funny. I sold a piece to a guy in Europe, in Britain, and I think I talked about that before. And I had people, you know, like he ended up sending me $400. You know, I forget how much it was. I think I may have maybe it was more. But I know it was much for the painting it was to ship it there. Ship England, but he wanted it. But it was a painting of a birthday cake and it was eating a boy. The birthday cake had a face on it and it was a skull face on a birthday cake eating a boy and the boy's screaming. He's trying to get away. And then Jesus is on top of it, the painting with a word balloon, because a lot of my stuff were like comic strips, and it was Jesus and what did he say? Something like God was not pleased with Billy or something. I forget. You know, it was really clever. Whatever it is, I said I just can't remember it, but it was Jesus saying something like, you know, Billy. Oh, Billy should have not have. You know, Billy should have listened to God when he said only one piece or something, or, you know, and so the birthday cake's eating him, but it was like a whole thing about gluttony or whatever. But so I shipped that painting off, and then I sold a couple paintings in Seattle. That was really cool. I had some cool paintings there, but yeah, it was more about, I don't know. I didn't like the criticism either, or you know, I didn't like the rejection, because you'll get rejected here and there. And another show that was really cool though I got in was called 1,000 Clowns, and then Diane Keaton, she just came out with a book too about clowns. Like, she collects kitschy clown art. But anyway, I was asked to be in that show, and it, you know, it helps if you're a clown. So I got in that show and it was really cool. There was like so many really high-level lowbrow artists in that show. I mean, a lot. You know, there were just tons of artists. I think there was over 100 artists in that show. It was a group show. But an article came out in the LA Times. It was so great. And they just, you know, the only artist that got mentioned, it was funny. It said, you know, come see this show, 1,000 Clowns, and something about Diane Keaton. It said, you know, you'll see a clownological collection, everything from prints by, you know, from the 1800s or 1900s by Picasso to the early 1900s, Picasso, to Oregon's Extremo the Clown.
Nice.
So the only
two with Picasso.
Yeah, so the only two people that were mentioned were me and Picasso. So, you know, you hear stuff like that, it makes you excited. You know, like, oh my God, I'm on my way. But you know, even that stuff, it takes a lot of just like I know there's people out there that like to sit and just paint, and
yeah,
they're not nervous, and they're not their brains, you know, aren't freaking out all the time and trying to go fast. You know, I'm all about speed and fast, and that's why it's hard for me to do illustration and stuff. But I'm all about painting the windows and getting out there, and you know, oh, I get $600 cash today. Okay, thank you. I don't have to give that to the gallery or anybody. And
yeah,
I used I used a third of a gallon of house paint, and I just have $600 now. It's like I would have had to make a painting for $1,200, which probably would have taken me at least 3 days to paint, maybe a week, and then I'd have to sell it, and then I'd get $600 because the gallery gets half.
Yeah. So that's the thing I was going to touch on is like the friends that I have who dipped in it or are still in it, like the only ones I know that are successful at it, like the guy Kyle that I mentioned, like he's been doing this for like before I ever was even going to that school, like he's been doing the whole gallery thing and at a loss, like the majority of the time, just for passion. And then it's finally kind of like people are finally catching up to stuff he's been doing for years, you know, and they're like new artists doing all this cool stuff. And it's like, this guy's been doing this for like at minimum like 20 years, you know?
Right.
It's like, so my other friend, like Rick, who kind of dipped into that even more, like, more seriously, he was at the point where he was selling pieces for like $10,000, $15,000 for painting. That sounds insane, but keep in mind, you know, the amount of time each painting took, and then the amount the gallery took, and so he was coming from being a professional illustrator, and then he'd be like, you know, like that's a great number, but you know, you do those gallery shows at like Bergmont, these high-end galleries, and it's like maybe you sell one painting when you're starting, you know?
Right.
You sell one painting, maybe two paintings, maybe three paintings, and it's a year's worth of work. And the gallery takes oftentimes, like at the higher end galleries, they'll take like 50%, 40%.
Oh yeah, 50's normal.
Yeah, 50, 60% sometimes if it's a really good rep. So you're getting, you know, a much smaller amount. So if you do the math and you realize like what your yearly income is, it's pretty slim for when you're starting until you become huge, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and then like you get repped and it, you know, if you go the high art end, you do like all the like art basils and stuff like that. You do the big fairs and you'll start selling more and more and then like getting traded on the stock market, like I was saying. Or you go the route of like lowbrow art where it's about building a name. And then like from that, it's like you start garnering more freelance work, like that's going to, you know, start getting higher and higher in pay because you have a name, you know, and so like you can demand a little more money. But still to get to the point where you can really make like a pretty good living at it, unless you're that breakaway artist, it's like anything else. Like you were saying, like it would be akin to like even window painting or like doing graphic design or illustration. It's like, it's a hard start. It's always a hard start. And
it takes years.
Yeah. And actually I had this wake up call with comics because like I've just been carving away and trying to break down that wall with comics, but the kind of comics I do are very niche. And I remember this was like years ago. I read this interview with Craig Thompson, who's one of my icons. Like I think he's a great guy. He's doing self-authored work, and he makes a pretty good living at it. Books are everywhere. And he was talking about making blankets, and I think it took him like 10 years. And at one point when he was making blankets, I think he was actually like eating out of a trash can or something in Portland. And it's like he was being interviewed about that. And somebody was asking him and saying like, well, that's horrible. Like you were that dire and desperate when you were making it. And he was like, well, yeah, it's art, dude. It's hard. This stuff doesn't just like, it doesn't just, you know, appear and it's magically great. It's a struggle to make this stuff. And it's not that way for everybody. But the point being like, I think that's the beauty of like the gallery scene is just another thing. And if that's your thing, like Scott was just saying, like, it's important to hit it like full bore. Like if that's your thing, like target it, hit it, organize, like be in every show you can. And don't undersell yourself or undervalue your work.
And it's about it's about doing what you love.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm king of the window painters.
It's true.
No, it's like I'm king of the window painters because I love being in front of people and performing, and I love doing cartooning, and I love the freedom, and you know, I didn't love being in galleries. You know, I had a show that was really fun though at a place called the Toy Room in Sacramento, and I ended up sending them a box. It was just this big box, but it had like 16 pieces in it, paintings, small ones, big ones, and I did really good. That, you know, they were just, and I priced them really cheap. You know, I had some stuff for $15 and like $35, but I had like, I don't know, 16 or 20 pieces, but they sold a lot of them, and they, you know, I think total. You know, they maybe, I think it was $1,600 worth of stuff maybe, and I ended up making like $800 or something, but it was fun, and it was just weird stuff, and you know,
That's awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. For me, it's not my thing, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I still think about it sometimes, like as far as sculpting, you know, I love sculpting, and you know, I make all these pieces. Let me take my camera, and I mean, I sculpt as much as I draw, but I mean, this is just, I don't know if you can see my here, let me do this here. Probably making a lot of noise, but these are some of my sculptures here, you know, and I just have tons of pieces back here that I just work on, you know, like all these little hands here for future things, and this is kind of a cool piece here. But I mean, like, you know, like I could take these, or like this guy here. It's kind of a cool piece. And I could take this, make castings, and, you know, sell them at shows or whatever. And, but, you know, I'll put them on my van for now. But like, I don't know. It's just, it's really about whatever you like to do. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could make comic books and do art shows, or you could just do art shows, and it's about getting into it. I'm going to start doing something that's kind of cool. There's a guy that I follow, because I follow a lot of sign painters and stuff too, and because they follow me, and I have a lot of sign painters that look up to me, and even though I'm not a sign painter and I don't have that skill, they, you know, the way I do windows and stuff, they really can appreciate that art. But there's a guy in Reno, his name's Derek. He's at a place called Golden West Sign Arts. Really, really great sign writer. But he's got like 16,000 followers on Instagram. And he just like, he gets like a piece of fluorescent paper, and he just does alphabets and some lettering, and he sells those. He sells them for like $65 online. And so I was talking to him, and he was saying, yeah, he'd love to have me teach him something about cartooning and stuff. But we were talking, and so we worked out this thing where I'm going to send him some pieces like that with just cartoons on it, like a face, you know, outlined with black really quick, because I'm really fast. I can do stuff quick, and then, you know, do some black and then highlight it with maybe white, like do some witches or aliens or some shrunken heads or zombies or witch doctors or, you know, bugs or whatever, just whatever I can think of. So it's kind of like, it's pretty much fine art. Then I send them to him, and then he'll do lettering on it and stuff. It's really cool lettering, and then maybe sell them. And so I might do that for a while too, you know. It's like, but I don't like being, because I'm older, I don't like being tied down or invested in one thing. Like right now, like I said, I'm really into this sketching and copying this Hedvig lady from Sweden. I love her stuff, and I'm into copying it, but then I might sculpt. But as a base, I pretty much do my channels, I do Instagram, and I paint windows. That's sort of my base.
Yeah.
And plus I work on the art car, so I kind of have a lot of stuff going on already. Yeah. So, you know, the gallery thing, I might do it again. Like for a while I said, yeah, that's it, no more. But now I'm kind of thinking I might do it, you know, if something comes up or I have an opportunity to get involved again and do something that's doesn't require like a lot of work, like a group show or a 6-man show would be cool.
Yeah.
You know, that I could put together a few pieces. I kind of get that urge to do that sometime, to do some paintings, because I can paint and draw a lot better than I could in 2003 because it's 2018. So I've gotten better in 15 years. I've painted several thousand windows, and I'm just a better illustrator, a better painter. And so my paintings would be better, I think, and they would be just, you know, and I know more about art and doing art and stuff. But I love just doing the windows.
Yeah.
I did a window the other day. It was funny. It was in this part of town up, you know, it was in the St. John's area of Portland. I got a call from a movie crew. They were shooting a commercial for Northwest Natural Gas. So they called me and they said, we want you to paint this bakery. It's closed, but paint it. We want you to paint stuff all over it. Make it look like it's open. You know, so I had, you know, bagels and cupcakes and danishes and weird characters. And it said, you know, buy 2 dozen, get the third dozen free, open 7 days a week.
Huh.
And this place had only closed like last summer. So all these people are driving by going, oh, I'm so happy they're opening again. People are like walking by going, I mean, this one guy's like, yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad they're opening. I grew up with this place. I'm so glad. I'm like, I'm sorry. This is going to be gone. This is not real. I felt so bad. I'm going to put out a video about it because I've shot video of all these people. I use a GoPro. People don't think I'm taping them, even though I have a GoPro on my forehead, because I turn the red flashing light off. So I get a lot of candid stuff while I'm talking to people with the GoPro on my head. But so it's just funny, you know, and then I'm like, and then, you know, today I washed it off. I went back and just, you know, or yesterday I went back and had to wash it off after a couple days. It's funny. But yeah, I think getting in gallery is a good way to start, is just, you know, the lowbrow scene. Unless, you know, I mean, you can go the regular mainstream fine art scene too, you know. It just depends on your art. And even comic book style, you know, you could tweak it a little to make it more fine art in a way, by the way it's put together and stuff. I mean, like Roy Lichtenstein, or was that his name? The guy that, yeah.
Lichtenstein, right? I think, yeah. Or maybe it's Lichtenstein. Yeah, I know who you're talking about, though. Because he did like the pop art comic book stuff. And
yeah, I mean, but I did want to say one other thing about galleries and doing fine art that I think people feel comfortable with this. And what it is consistency. Like, okay, I draw trees. That's what I do. I draw trees with the background, or I draw skulls, or I draw, I draw surfers or people surfing, or I do wildlife art or panda bears or whatever it is you do, but it's like your style and your theme is constant. And I think that makes it more comfortable for people, you know. But then with lowbrow art, you can stray from that somewhat, but still, I think it's important to keep your style and your technique and your look consistent. But with lowbrow art, you can do weird themes, like you can do aliens or tikis or hot rods or surfing, or, you know what I mean? You can expand into different areas, or circus freaks or whatever lowbrow stuff. But then there's also lowbrow artists too, like that. I think her name's Laura Early. She does these women with really long necks, and it doesn't even look like lowbrow art, but still it has that Mark Ryden kind of feel to it. It's like within lowbrow art, there's probably like 6 genres of art within the lowbrow scene.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the lowbrow art of like the Piz, you know, or what's that guy's name? Coleman, or and then God, I can't remember their names, but there's these people that do this really kind of raunchy, you know, freaky tiki girl sort of stuff, you know, hot rod culture stuff. You know, there's that whole lowbrow stuff. And then there's these people that do like, God, just really kind of, there was an artist who did jazz covers in the 60s and stuff, in the late 50s and 60s, with kind of really a lot of design work with like a jazz player playing a trumpet with a big nose and kind of carrying.
Are you talking about Shag?
Well, yeah, stuff like Shag.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I have one of his pieces. It's cool. It was sent to me by Greg. And
Awesome.
it's signed by him and Don Ho, because it's a painting of Don Ho. But anyway, yeah, there's like the whole like Shag, like, well, he, you know, his kind of stuff, that's considered lowbrow, but it's so different from like that Laura Early and Mark Ryden and Tom Shore, you know, it's so different from the Piz. And then my stuff was kind of just like cartoon surrealism, they called it, which I don't know what that even fucking means, because it's a cartoon. How could it be a surrealistic cartoon? It's, you know what I mean? It's cartoon art, you know, so I don't know where that name came from, cartoon surrealism. Like, I guess because of people like Anthony Yozgang. I don't know if you know who he is. He did like cats. He still does it too, like does cats, and they're all stretched out and stuff, and they're all psychedelic. So in that way, I guess it could be considered cartoon surrealism. But yeah, again, I think it's just perseverance. You got to just get out there and this is what I want to do. I want to be a famous artist and be a lowbrow artist or whatever it is. But I think it's easy for some people that, I don't know, they're really not only right brain, they're very left brain, and they can sit and they can draw, and they actually enjoy the experience of you know, like that James Gurney guy, you know, that did Dinotopia, you know who he is?
Yeah.
It's like that guy. It's like, he's just, I don't know, he's just level-headed. You know, he goes out and he can paint things, and he looks at things, and he does sketches, and he researches it, and that's his brain. And so he loves doing that, and he enjoys that experience. But if I was a billionaire, I wouldn't be doing paintings and go be in art shows. You know what I mean? I'd be painting windows if I was a billionaire. I would go to the children's hospital and paint their whole freaking hospital with cartoon characters on their walls and windows.
Yeah.
If I was a billionaire, I would, you know, make art cars, or I'd go sit on the corner and just do sketches and give them to kids. But if I was a billionaire, I would not want to sit in my garage at night and paint for 18 months and stress out about trying to come up with some cool themes for that people will like, and then I got to ship them, or I've got to drive to LA or wherever, and I've got to be in an art show and then hope somebody will buy it, or, you know, it's like.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing you're touching on, though, because, like, to me, like, what I'm working on right now is what I would be working on if I were a billionaire. I'd just be doing this full time, you know? And it's like, so I think that's where you want to expend your energy as an artist. Like, that energy, like, when you have that window of time to work on your art, and it's a project that's a passion project, what is it, you know? And whatever that is, that's what you're going to. It's weird. It's like almost not even a choice. Like, if you really want to do gallery shows, and that like, if you want to do gallery shows as an illustrator to make some side income and have a fun time, you can start doing it today, and it doesn't require a ton of persistence. If you want to become huge in galleries, you really are gonna. It has to be something you're gonna love, regardless of whether you have success or not, and that's really gonna dictate, I think, your success. Because for me, I really admire, like, Mark Ryden, for instance, but I could never be a Mark Ryden. I could never be a person who's like, it's in a weird way, I feel like he makes a lot of the same painting and over and over again of the same themes. And don't get me wrong, they're beautiful paintings. They're amazing to see in person too. but like I would get bored doing that. Like,
yeah, I got a chance to meet him. He came to one of my shows.
Nice.
And I met Todd Shore too.
Yeah. And I bet they're really passionate about what they're doing.
Oh yeah, like Todd Shore, you know, he sold a painting to Leonardo DiCaprio, I guess, for, I don't know, $250,000 or something. Anyway, I don't know how long he worked on that for. I think a year, or maybe it was 9 months or something. But I mean, he just like, he loves it. He's really quiet. He's a really quiet, subdued guy. And he, you know, but my brain is like, it's jumpy. You know, it's like, I'm really right-brained. I don't have that left brain stuff, you know, the methodic, calm, trying to figure things out, and, you know, and like just doing this drawings that I'm doing now, I'm trying to learn perspective. It really, it messes with my brain. It kind of like, it's just, I have to develop certain patterns. Like, okay, oh, that's how you do a dog's paw. That's how you do an alligator's, you know, tail, or, you know, and I get it. I do it so many. I draw so many birds that, okay, I can draw a bird now, or I can draw a turkey or a T-Rex or a zombie. You know, I have to get it in there some way where I don't have to use the left side of my brain to look at something to copy it, because that it almost hurts.
Yeah,
it's a struggle. But yeah, but I do want to learn more about drawing and getting better, because I'm really honest about what I'm good at and what I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And I think that's important if you want to be realistic, and, you know, and you want to improve. You got to know what you need to improve on, and, you know, but yeah, I probably will do another show, I'm sure, at some time, you know, something will come up, or.
Oh yeah.
But I am kind of really excited about doing these posters, because I think it'd be so fun just to take, you know, a piece of paper, you know, poster paper, 18 by 20 or something, and some fluorescent stock, and get out because I'm really good with my black, you know, my black brushes, just painting.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
You know, I can, you know, I'm good at pulling lines thick and thin, and I can come up with faces and creatures, and I think it'd be cool to do a bunch of stuff like the Garbage Pail Kids, or like Basil Wolverton type stuff, those really weird faces they used to have, and I don't know what they were called. They were like, they came in bubblegum, you know, you get that bubblegum packs with a card with a
Wacky Packs?
I don't know, like a weird face, like Susie Throw Up or Slimy Joe, or.
Oh yeah, Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah.
Is that what that was? Garbage Pail Kids, whatever. But when I was a kid, they had those too. There was like, I don't know who did them. Maybe it was like Jack Davis from Mad Magazine. But they used to have bubble gum you could buy, and they would have a card in it. Maybe it was Garbage Pail Kids. But I seem to remember when I was a kid, they had them too. Like weird.
You may be thinking of. I mean, I you know, I like Josh said, the Wacky Packages. You know, I remember those. And then they also had the ones that were like the cars, like the crazy souped up, kind of like almost Rat Fink style cars.
Yeah,
I had some cards of those.
But Wacky Packs used to have like disgusting stuff and then parodies. So like you get like something where it would be like a really gross zombie head, severed head, and then it would come with a little stick of gum, and it was always on a wax package. Like it was, so the colors were all offset and awesome. But then like there was another side of Wacky Packs that was totally Mad Magazine style, where like the majority of them were like parodies. So it'd be like, you know, a parody of like a cereal box cover, but it would be like some gross take on like that cereal box.
Yeah.
And the thing that's great that I love about, like, because I look at Wacky Packs a lot, because like it just, there are all these like printing errors or like really like basic color choices they'd make that like were out of necessity at the time. Like they weren't doing it to be aesthetically cool.
I just did a big splash at the Han convention here in Portland like that. I just used like a salmon color, red, black, and white and gray. That was it.
Yeah.
And I did like skulls. I did like a jack-o'-lantern, but it was like a salmon pink colored jack-o'-lantern with red underneath. And then I did this really rough, kind of scratchy outlining. It wasn't Disney style. It was more like a 60s kind of fluid style, almost like those. I mean, not as colorful as those Gold Key comic book covers, but kind of that look with, but with just less colors.
Yeah.
And it's like you use a highlight and a shadow, and then a second shadow color, and then you trap everything with black. And I love doing that. It's just like using a few colors and.
Oh yeah, and I think like it makes sense in the medium you're working in too. It's like one of the things that like I had a love for that stuff before, but like when I was really heavy into doing t-shirt art, it's like, it just kind of like lends itself to that medium, because it's like with t-shirts, at least back in the time, back in the day, like with t-shirts, like digital printing on like sublimation really sucked up until like probably about like 4 years ago, where sublimation really started being really good enough to like where to get a good graphic on a shirt, you didn't have to screen print it. So for screen printing and window painting are really similar in the sense of like, which to me is like coming from having worked in that for like not nearly as long as you've worked in window painting, but about 10, 15 years in shirts. It's like a good shirt graphic always had like 4 colors. If you were a really solid designer, you could do it with like 2 and make it like 3 colors and make it look like 20. Like half of the trick was
using like, screens.
Yeah.
Like different tones, tonal patterns. Like you're only using red ink.
Yeah.
You have screens so you're only using 10%, 20%, 40% color. And you can use the black and make all kinds of grays. You can use the gray and a little bit of the pink and make some kind of muted mauve color. Yeah. Yeah,
and like and sometimes like if you could just get away with it in flats and do something that was 4 colors, where you just pick these colors that like this orange could also function as a red, in a different situation. So like if I'm doing a tree in a scene, that tree could have a trunk that's like a color that it really shouldn't be, but it's also good enough to be the shadow tone on the face.
Yeah, there's a lot of art in the 40s, 50s, 60s that were done like that out of, like you said, necessity.
Yeah. And so I look at that because like I was like working in shirts where it's like, again, by necessity, I got to figure out ways to like keep this down to like 4 colors, maybe 6 colors max,
Yeah, I worked in a screen shop in Hawaii when I was there, because their t-shirts are big in Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
And they used to come up with all kinds of their own things. Like they'd have like a marijuana leaf, Pakalolo, grown on the slopes of Haleakala, and they'd design all this stuff. And I worked with an artist and did the screen printing. But back to the gallery thing again, though, it's like these posters I'm making.
Yeah.
I'm so fast at it, and I enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
I could probably do about 15 in a day. I could probably do I could probably do like a 20 by 30 poster, or a regular large size format poster, probably in about, if I kept it really bold, and I could do lettering on it too, because I can do lettering and just doing crazy stuff. What I do it on some red stock or like some green stock, like an apple green or something.
Yeah.
I might do like Frankenstein, like a really Mad Magazine Frankenstein character. I could probably do it in like 20 minutes, maybe a half hour. And, that would be fun for me, because then I could go, oh, it's green. Well, I'll do an alien, or I'll do a frog on this one, a frog throwing up a key or something.
Yeah.
Or just a birthday cake, or I don't know. It's just whatever it comes to my mind. See, that's what I like to do. Or maybe a werewolf smoking a cigar. I don't know. Or a little kid holding a balloon with a skull on the balloon, and he looks really, or maybe he's a Cyclops kid, or maybe he's riding a skateboard. I don't know. Or a stork, or that's how my mind is. It's like, I don't know, or a vampire, or It's like, it's kind of like endless. And it's like, I like to access that right side, and then I can do one, and okay, do that one, do another one, frame all those, or, and take them to a gallery and sell them for, $150 a piece, and, give me 75 or whatever per piece. And I did 10 of them in a day. So that's $750, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I might do that, I might try and create something like that. In the meantime, I am going to try to sell them online, but then at the same time, I don't know if I want to ship them and get into becoming a post office shipping.
Yes. That's always prevented me on those things too. I have a couple friends who've gone into like doing gig posters, and like once you get really once again, it's a matter of like persistence, where it's like you have to really love music and love gig posters, and you
have to love mailing things.
Exactly. The more success they have, the more they become kind of a mailing company. Where it's like, I see these guys, like their house will be like half just full of just like.
And that's okay if you like doing that. It's no big deal. And I might like doing that too if I was making, if I was making money. I would, because I do mail stuff. I mean, I have contests on Instagram, and the other day I said, come up with a name for this character. Whoever gets, wins the drawing. And people are coming up for names for, and I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram. I mean, I have, some, a few hundred. And so I had like maybe 6 people say, oh, this name or that name or whatever, maybe 10 people. And so I sent them I sent it to them, and I send people, pictures for my ebook. So, I mean, it's no big deal really.
Yeah.
But then I think if it became really successful and you had to send out 8 pieces a day, like big pieces, you might not, but then I guess you could hire somebody. I don't know.
I was going to say, at that point, you're going to hire somebody.
Yeah. Just hire someone for minimum wage. Tell them, I need these sent out. But
that's one of the things that prevented me from that scares the crap out of me when it comes to like self-publishing a comic, like having to actually package it, ship it. Just the whole shipping part of it freaks me out about so the fact that there's like Create Space now makes me excited, because it's way less of a percentage you're getting, because like on a print level, print on demand is never going to compare to like doing a big run offset, for like what you could get in a return. But just the idea of like not having to do the shipping is like, sounds wonderful to me, because I've done that with art, and it just, I don't enjoy it. I enjoy the idea of sending someone something. That's very cool. But I really hate that part of it, because I feel like 100% on board with what you were talking about. But it's like, it just kind of interferes with my part of the process. Of like, I really like the making thing, and I like the people reading it thing. I just don't like packaging and shipping. Like, that's just boring. It's boring. And although you can make it fun by like personalizing it, and I think that's cool to do contests and stuff. But yeah, it does scare me, because it's like, what happens if it's a success? Like
that's what's cool about ebooks.
Yeah.
And I don't even have a website or anything. What I do is I draw pictures, and then I make PDF files, and I make a book. A 60-page book.
Yeah.
And it's a big PDF file. Or like with my first book, like the one that actually has pictures of me painting, I'm painting a specific thing. I tell them what brushes to get, where to buy them, everything, supplies. So I create this book, and then I only sell it through my YouTube channel. So on my YouTube channel, it says, buy my books. You can buy this one for 15 or 2 for 30 or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it just says, send me $15 to my PayPal. So they go and they put money in my PayPal. So then I get an email that says, you've got money. So I go to my PayPal and it says, John Doe from Tennessee just sent you $15. Or they sent you $36 for all 3 books.
Yeah.
And so then I get their email and I send them the books. I send them PDF files. So I don't have nothing. I don't do anything. I mean, it's almost passive income.
Yeah.
Because if somebody buys a book, I only have to spend 2 minutes.
Yeah.
To get that book to them. You know, and then, well, but now because I have 3 books, I use a service. It's called P-Cloud or something. I don't know what it is, but you can send larger files for free. And so first I send them an email, say, you're going to get a email from this place, and you got to open these files and you can download them. And but now if I had 30 ebooks, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
You know, if I had like 4th of July stuff, or, you know, Easter rabbits, you know, pictures or whatever, and, you know, or how to draw cats, you know, it could be just, could be anything, how to draw, or it could be even smaller. It could be like some little tiny 5-page book for $5 or whatever. So I think that's awesome, selling information like that too. And it does work, you know. I mean, I've probably sold 120 books, you know, ebooks over the last, you know, year and a half. And but it's really funny with me. I sell most of my books around from middle October to the end of after Christmas. All my stats, everything skyrockets then. I get like 200 something subscribers, you know, a month, and the money I make on YouTube jumps up. You know, it's really funny watching it every year. It just goes way, way up at Christmas, and then it crashes again. But YouTube, I don't make that much money. I make $50 a month, and I've been really, you know, 900 videos, and like we're talking so many hours. And YouTube's crazy, like what they do now. It's like all their weird. Like I had a bunch of my videos where you say, "Oh, this isn't suitable for monetization anymore because of whatever." You know, that's that lady that crazy vegan lady that shot up those people at YouTube. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She went to YouTube headquarters, and she ended up not killing anyone. She definitely shot people, but she ended up killing herself. But yeah.
See, this is one of the things that sucks about doing the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge is like I miss out on major news like that, like which I should know about.
What, have you been living under a rock?
I've just been like, I get home, I'm like, okay, I have like this little window of time. I gotta get my you know, that's crazy. Wow, I'm glad. So nobody was hurt.
Well, people were hurt, but no one died. Yeah.
But the reason she did it was she was pissed off at YouTube because she has like all these channels and like different parts of the world and stuff. I don't know, she Middle Eastern or whatever, but she was really upset because they stopped letting her get views. And yeah, YouTube's going nutty. They're doing crazy stuff, and it's really hurt some people. It didn't affect me that much because my stuff's really squeaky clean. But you know, like I had a video that was called Graffiti Penis, you know, and so
I remember that one. Yeah,
they like, you can't have that. You can't say that, you know, so they had to demonetize it. And so I just changed the name. I don't give a shit, but it was just because someone drew a penis on one of my windows and I called it Graffiti Penis. I thought it was funny. But I have so many videos, and you know, some of them don't get that many views, but then my Dark Ride channel, I was making a little bit of money, not much. I was up to about $20, and all of a sudden they go, "Oh, we're not going to give you money anymore. You have to have 1,000 subscribers."
Yeah, that happened to my main channel. I got demonetized, which is sad because I was making a little bit, not a lot, but I was making a bit, and it's like now it's
I'm
demonetized.
sorry, you can't have that anymore. But
Yeah.
it's like, you know, so that's why a lot of people are going to Patreon. Like a lot of these news channels,
Yeah.
because of their new algorithms, if you say anything about nudity or terrorism or political stuff, they want to shut you down. So they really fucked over a lot of people. And so people went to Patreon and was like, oh my God, and just, you know, they're making good money now.
Well, I think that's what people should be doing anyway. I wouldn't count on YouTube to make money. I mean, I make a little bit, but I'm not counting on it. It's a nice little chunk of change when it comes in, but you gotta make your own products like you do with your ebooks and stuff. I mean, that's the way to go. I would just use YouTube as a platform to reach people and not worry about making money from AdSense because it's unless
YouTube is great because without YouTube, I wouldn't have anything.
Yeah.
Because YouTube, you know, I have 4,400 subscribers, which isn't a lot, you know, in the scheme of YouTube, but it's, you know, it really helps. And now that I'm doing Instagram again, you know, that's building. And so, yeah, I can only have a successful Patreon because I have a successful YouTube channel that's successful in that I'm, you know, teaching people, and a lot of people, I get views. But yeah, it's not about the money. Like on Patreon, I'm making like $140 a month. And I started it in September. But YouTube I've been doing for years and years and years. But Patreon is like, it's not all passive income because I do have to send sketches and stuff. But other than the sketches,
well, you're doing a lot of free content as far as videos and stuff.
Oh,
too.
yeah, that's true. And lately I've been really getting into it. I just, you know, I love, it's fun. It's fun making Patreon videos because I have 20 people that are watching them, and I don't have to worry about, you know, anything really, because on Patreon they don't care. They're not going to, you know, demonetize it. You know, they don't care. You can.
Well, and that's the key too, is that you have to love it. Like if you're trying to do YouTube because you think you're going to be rich from it, I think you're probably in for a rude awakening. You have to. I mean, you have to love to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like why I like YouTube so far and why I've still kept with it and stuff is like I love doing stuff like 100 days and tackling stuff, and I like the little community we've kind of built, like, and the interactions we have with the people, like, so that's been really cool. And you know, it does help get more eyes on like the body of work that I want to get out there. So it's like that to me is like the advantage of YouTube. I like knowing people who have like mass followings on YouTube and hearing what kind of comes out of just YouTube revenue alone. I'm like, I don't really think that's worth the time.
Yeah. I just absolutely love making videos.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a narcissist, but I love entertaining people, and
you're good at it.
And I love making weird videos and funny, you know, sometimes making instructional stuff, and then sometimes just making them weird and funny, and just I love shooting it while I'm there, and I love talking to people, and I love getting video of people like walking into the restaurant with my GoPro on and just like, hey, what's going on in the window? And sometimes I get just really cool, candid stuff, people saying funny things. And to me, making the videos is as fun as painting the windows.
Yeah.
But I mean, my problem is I have to force myself to not make videos too much because it takes so much time.
Yeah.
And it's like today I was home because it was raining and I didn't have any job schedule that I could do. So, I mean, I spent 6 hours making a video for my funky little drawing and sketching channel that hardly anybody watches. I mean, some people watch it. I have, you know, 200 maybe 200. I don't know. I lost track. You know, a couple hundred subscribers, but it's not like I get a lot of comments and a super big amount of people watching it like the window painting channel. But just making the video it's a cool video. It's interesting. And it's interesting what I'm talking about. And people tell me it's interesting and they like it and they like the content. And plus, my window painting channel, I help so many people. I have people that I've started careers for people, and that, you know, they do it part-time. Some people do it full-time. They make money. I've had people get accounts like Home Depot and where they live, and, you know, and it's just like, could be somebody who paints faces, you know, but now they paint windows, and so now they're painting faces and doing windows, and, you know, so many success stories from people. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I really like the creative process of making the videos, finding the music, you know, editing, because I've made about 2,000 videos, you know, over the, you know, lifetime of doing different YouTube channels and stuff. For sure, like 2,000, I'm sure. And it's like what we talked about. Whatever you do it a lot. You get good at it, and I think I'm okay at doing it. And I have a certain way of doing it where there's contrast. Like I'll have scenes where it's like real time, or I'm talking to somebody, or it's instructional, and then I go to some really sped up stuff with freaky music or whatever. But I enjoy it. But yeah, as far as making money, I don't know. Maybe someday I'll make $100 a month, you know? I don't know. It's like, but I think Patreon will keep growing. I mean, I could see making $400 or $500 a month off Patreon, but that might be, that might be 6-8 years from now. I don't know. Like you said, you can't, if you depend on it, you know, it'll frustrate the hell out of you if you figure out how many hours you work and doing it. You gotta love doing it.
Yeah, I think that goes across the board for any art pursuits. You know, it's like basically like, and the other thing is, if you don't love it, and like I've said this to people who, like, even if, like, let's say you did something disingenuous that you hate, but you're doing it specifically to make money. Hypothetically, if you actually start making money doing that, you've kind of created this hell that you now have to live in, where you're having to make stuff you hate for money. And like that, to me, like, I don't know, just pursue the stuff you want to do. And then if it makes money on the side, like, try to make money with it, because why not? That's great. If you can get paid to do what you love, that's great.
Well, the real secret is, if you do what you love and you keep doing it, you're going to be the best at what you do. And then because you're the best at what you do, you're going to make money because people will come to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that might be a good way to end it. We got a comment from Corey in the chat saying marathon episode. Yeah, I think we've been going way longer than usual, so we probably should start wrapping it up.
Well, we could starting. I want to go till 3 a.m.
Some of us but yeah, I mean, it's always this way when we have Scott on, because, you know,
I forgot what time it was.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to sneak in before we let her know where to find us and everything? Or did we cover pretty much everything?
Well, I'm going to just say it's day 90 of the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, and there is no way in hell I'm going to make a video after this. but yeah, so what I did today for my progress was a little further inking on my plug here. So yeah, it's a pug peeing on a post. So
pug peeing on a post, triple P.
Yay. So that's it. And then anything, Scott? You
just on the 20th, I've got that other art exhibit at Cocoon Art Space. If I can remember, I will put a link in the description in Phoenix, Arizona. And yeah, other than that, I'm on Serkworks pretty much everywhere on the internet. What about you, Scott?
Just if you want to learn how to paint windows, come to my window painting channel. I will teach you everything you need to know. If you like art cars or sculpting, you can go to Dark Ride Now. or Dark Ride Art on YouTube, and then I'm also on, and I have a sketching or a Scot Campbell Art also on Instagram. That's my Instagram, and a YouTube channel for that one too. So I guess that's it. I don't have a actual .com, so.
Yeah, well, I've got links for all your various YouTube channels in the description, and speaking in the description, you'll also find a link to our newsletter. So the way this works is we switch from Josh's channel to my channel, and back to Josh's channel, back to mine, and sometimes we do it on different days. We've been doing a lot on Thursdays, but as you can tell, today is a Wednesday if you're watching this live. So if you want to know when we're going to be broadcasting and for which channel and all that stuff, just subscribe to our newsletter. We don't spam you or anything. We just let you know about 30 minutes ahead of time that we're going to go live, just so you're aware. And yeah, I want to thank everyone in the chat. And Corey's like, no, don't kill it. He didn't mean to kill the stream. Yeah, we're gonna go for a while. I'm getting tired actually. Usually we'll talk for a while afterwards after we go off air, but I don't know. I might anyway, so thanks again. Thanks for coming on, Scott, and we will see everyone next week.
See you next time.
Bye.